Hello my friends, welcome to another video here on our YouTube channel. And today I'm going to show you how to properly use turmeric, also known as curcuma, to deflate your body. Dayan, who is this video for? This video here is for you who are obese, for you who have diabetes, for you who have high blood sugar, for you who have cancer or have a family history of cancer, for you who have arthritis, arthrosis, high uric acid, for you who have inflammation in your body, okay? Just don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, click on the little bell to activate notifications, leave your like, which is very important for YouTube to show this video to more people, and share this video now with everyone you know. Well, in our meeting today, you're going to learn a little more about how most chronic diseases attack us and how they happen in our bodies. Well, my friends, according to the World Health Organization, in this day and age that we're living in, chronic non-communicable diseases, in other words, the diseases I've just talked about here on the live, far outnumber infectious diseases as the main cause of death. Infectious diseases as the main cause of death. In other words, infection is no longer what kills most people. And this WHO report, which provides data from the years 2000 to 2019, reveals that cardiovascular diseases, for example, heart attacks, strokes, thrombosis, cancer, diabetes, and chronic respiratory diseases, such as COPD, for example, together with mental health, cause almost 3/4 of deaths in the world and kill 41 million people every year. It all starts at home with family habits. Then it extends to school and social life. And according to WHO estimates, 17 million people under the age of 70 die from chronic diseases every year. I repeat, they die under the age of 70. Moreover, this public health problem represents significant losses for whom? For the economies of countries, for populations, whether through hospitalizations, retirement, or disability. These are people who are affected by chronic diseases. But Dayan, what is the mechanism of chronic diseases and how can I break this cycle? I want you to cure yourselves of these diseases. The saffron I'm going to give you today is a remedy that helps, but it's not going to solve your life. What is the mechanism behind these chronic illnesses and how can I break this cycle? When we talk about chronic disease, we think of chronic inflammation. So one thing is linked to the other. There is no such thing as an obese person without an inflamed body. There's no such thing as a diabetic without an inflamed body. There is no chronic disease without inflammation. And the main remedy capable of curing it, or at least greatly reducing the symptoms, is the only remedy: change of habit. So it's a set of actions, as Mira says. So it's re-education on all levels, mind and body. You might even think I'm raining at this point. Dr. Dayan always says that. But you have to repeat it as many times as necessary. To give you an idea, cardiovascular diseases have been the leading cause of death for 20 years. Have you ever seen anyone be a champion for 20 years? You haven't. A disease that has been the champion of death for 20 years has been the champion for a long time. And of course, there is a contribution from genetics in chronic diseases. But most of it comes from acquired bad habits. And what's more, nowadays, with the internet, there's no excuse for not knowing, isn't there? There's no shortage of doctors, nutritionists, and physical educators giving talks about health and how to treat diseases. So the information and knowledge is there. So now you're waiting for something to happen in your life so you can turn the key? That's your problem. Because I was talking about this today with my family. I had to suffer a panic attack, think I was going to die, see everything falling apart in my life. Obesity, gastritis, esophagitis, anxiety, labyrinthitis, hypertension, prediabetes, all of it. And it still wasn't enough. I needed the panic attack to turn my key. Then there's the whole power of marketing of the food industry, which should be monitored, in the sense of demanding that there be less sodium, that there be no trans fats in processed foods, that more attention be paid to food advertising, especially children's food. If all countries adopted public policies in favor of health, at least 39 million deaths from chronic diseases could be avoided by 2030. Countless more lives would be longer, healthier, and happier. I'm aware of the busy routine that many of you have, especially women. And I know that sometimes you can't plan a weekly menu. Then you end up resorting to fast food, industrialized foods, which are major causes of chronic inflammation, which in turn generate obesity, diabetes, and cancer. And still on the subject of food, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a high consumption of this type of food, especially among those with lower purchasing power. Why? Because the food is cheaper. Just do a quick search in any supermarket. A packet of cookies full of trans fat is much cheaper than a kilo of apples. And many of those who ended up in the ICU had chronic diseases such as diabetes and obesity. In other words, the inflammation didn't allow the immune system to act on the virus because the body was defending itself against inflammation all along. In addition, the consumption of this type of food was linked to people's emotional state. Most of them had anxiety, depression, and panic. Imagine how anxious the whole group was. During the height of the pandemic in 2020, 2021, another factor that leads to inflammation is smoking and drinking, both of which are potent agents of premature aging. And if you're obese, it makes the situation even worse. Because smoking constricts the blood vessels, which already have fatty plaques in them. How is that blood going to circulate? So it's a breeding ground for heart attacks and strokes. Alcohol alters the production of enzymes in the liver, changing the rhythm of metabolism, increasing the heart rate, overloading the kidneys, and that's it. That's why it has a diuretic effect. Another worrying factor is a sedentary lifestyle. The National Health Survey of 2019 showed that among the population aged 18 and over, 43% were classified as insufficiently active, i.e. sedentary. In other words, they don't do any physical activity or do it for less than 150 minutes a week. This includes leisure time and commuting to work. Sport helps increase metabolism, building muscle, and also releases hormones that bring a feeling of pleasure and also combat anxiety. If you're less anxious, you inflame less. Another practice that can help you recover or improve your health is supplementation. Supplementation is a powerful ally because food with our poor soil, you don't have time to prepare your food, your intestines are inflamed and you can't absorb what you eat. So what happens? The quantity of these foods would have to be very large in order to give you the nutrients you need. So my friends, changing your habits and making your health the most important thing in your life is the solution. And one of the things that helps a lot in this transformation is support. Not just from your family, but also, for example, from taking part in some kind of help or support group, I don't know, CrossFit, beach tennis, church, a definitive weight loss program. So you have to have a like-minded community. Believe me, many of my students, for example, in the slimming program have started and their families have taken a ride on their transformation. Take note of the home remedy for deflating the body. Okay? And I'm going to be nice to you. I'm even going to leave it here for you to visualize so you can go ahead. It'll be better for you. Okay? Look here. Write it down. 1 teaspoon of grated saffron. So why grated and not powdered? Because powder sometimes comes falsified, mixed with other things, even wheat flour. Okay? Secondly, a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass. Why is that? Because it will improve saffron absorption and bioavailability. So it will have more effect in short. Third, a pinch of black pepper. It will do the same thing as saffron. Saffron has an active ingredient called curcumin, which together with the piperine in black pepper has a potentiated effect. And that half a glass of water, I would add here a glass of warm water, a squeezed lemon, right? So that's it, a glass of warm water. Dayan, why does the water have to be warm? Because this recipe is for fasting. And this glass of warm water will wake up your stomach and intestines. Okay? The squeezed lemon will also help to detox your body, cleanse it of impurities, and improve the pH of your stomach. So there's a reason for all this, okay? You mix all this together on an empty stomach and take it every day for 10 days. Dayan, then what? 10 days using, 10 days without using it. 10 days using, 10 days without using it. Is that clear? Use 10, don't use 10. Dayan, who can't use this? Those with gallstones. If you have gallstones or even kidney stones, it's not interesting to use it because you can feel pain from these stones. Stones can hurt your bile ducts. Your gallbladder can contract, your bile ducts. Who can't use it? Anyone with very severe gastritis or esophagitis, okay? If you have hemorrhoids, you can use it with the pepper removed, right? The pepper, right? You remove the pepper if you have hemorrhoids. Then the person says, Dayan, what else can I do? Supplement with a lot of things. Well, my friends, thank you very much for coming. We'll end here now. And stay with God. Live healthy. Live with passion, with God in your heart. And stay with God, okay? Love everyone. Thanks.